Hi there and welcome to another cropped gear review. Today we'll be having a quick look at the Viewfactor Contineo Cage from Blackmagic Cinema and Blackmagic Production Camera. Today we'll be having a look at the Viewfactor Contineo Cage for Blackmagic Cinema camera and Blackmagic Production Camera. As you can see here, it's fitted on my Blackmagic Cinema camera right now. Obviously that's why I'm not shooting this with my Blackmagic camera but with an old DSLR that I have this, so maybe the quality of this video is a bit lower than normally, but anyways I needed it, as you can see. So onto the cage itself. As you can see, it fits perfectly around the Blackmagic cameras. It still allows access to all the ports, etc. and it allows access to the solid state drive slot. The back side is totally untouched, while the front is a little less accessible as it was before, but that's generally not a problem. The cage is really solid. It really makes if you're using a big rig like I am, it really makes the rig more rigid, and that means that you will have less vibration, etc. in your rig, and that can be a real lifesaver, especially when you're using the Blackmagic camera that I have with a passive MFT mount. You cannot use any optical stabilization that some newer lenses may have, so that's all gone. So vibrations will not be reduced by nifty things that are on lenses, so you need to do other things to reduce as much vibration as you possibly can, and having a very solid cage around your camera which you can mount all your rig stuff onto really helps with that. So this is what the camera looks like naked. Of course you have a cage because you want to mount stuff on it, so I'll quickly show you what my camera looks like normally. So this is basically what my camera looks like normally. As you can see, the cage is the centerpiece of this rig. Everything is connected through the cage around my Blackmagic Cinema camera. I've got a couple of rods on top, got a follow focus attached to it, got my electronic viewfinder attached to it, a top handle to carry it around, of course a lens. This is one of my smaller lenses, but lenses, got some lens support up front when I'm using a bigger lens, which is all greatly fitted onto the cage itself. On the back side I have a V-lock battery, a V-mounted battery, which supplies everything I put on my rig with power. I can put quite a lot of strain, quite a lot of stress onto this rig without anything really budging or moving, which is basically due to the sturdiness of the cage. So I'll remove this stuff again to get a better view at the cage itself. So here we are again with a stripped version of the cage. You get several things with the cage. Of course you got the sturdiness, which I talked about already, but another thing you want with the cage is the ability to attach stuff to it, which can be done by screws or by 15mm rods in this case. So as you can see, the Contineo Cage is completely covered in threaded holes. They come in two sizes. Both of them are the standard sizes for bigger or smaller camera related screws. So you can basically attach anything that you would like onto this cage. In addition, you get a mounting position for two 15mm rods with the cage, which you can either mount on top or on the bottom of the cage. You get a separate piece of aluminium to be able to mount it on the bottom, which is basically the standard configuration. But for my configuration it worked better if I put the rails on top of the camera, which is also possible, and you even get to remove another block of aluminium, which saves in weight, etc. Not to say that the cage is heavy, because it's not. The camera is quite heavy, but in comparison with the cage is basically weightless. So I put, I'll just remove the 15mm rods thing. It's really easy, just pull out two screws and then it's gone. As you can see, the top is again completely covered in threaded holes. The bottom is completely covered in threaded holes and allows to mount basically any quick release system that you want onto the bottom of the plate. If you don't want to use a quick release system directly to the cage, you can choose to put your 50mm rod holder on the bottom of the cage, and on the bottom of that the block leaves enough room and enough threaded holes to screw in whatever quick release system you have on the bottom of that. So that's basically up to you whether you want a quick release system directly to the cage or some rods between the quick release and the cage. The block of aluminium that you get with the 50mm rod system serves as as a mounting position for the quick release systems, but if you're not using it, it's a great place to store leftover screws in all different shapes and sizes. So that's basically what I'm using it for right now. Onto the sides are again completely covered in holes. I for one used one of those holes to mount a cold shoe onto the sides of the rig, in which I can put a small video light or a microphone or whatever. It just makes the Blackmagic camera a little bit more versatile. So I'm gonna put back the 50mm rod holder. And the good thing about this 50mm rod holder is that it's not standard. It's not like one of those cheaper things that you have to tighten it all the way until your fingers start hurting in order to secure it. If you tighten this knob just a little, turn it just a little, then that should be enough to keep your rods in place. Because it's a special kind of system which amplifies the amount of force that you put onto the screw, onto the rods, which works really well, I must say. When you first unbox the cage, it comes in basically 6 parts. 2 of them are the 2 pieces of the 50mm rod system. The other 4 are the cage itself. It's a top plate, it's a bottom plate, and it's 2 side handles. And of course you got a bunch of screws. So what you have to do is basically screw in the top plate with the holes that are present in the Blackmagic Cinema camera. You do the same for the bottom plates, which by itself are really sturdy if they're screwed in. But then of course you get the side brackets, you screw them into the sides of the top and the bottom plates. And if you've done that, then basically this thing won't budge and won't move at all. After that you just screw in the rod system wherever you like and you're good to go. So for the conclusion of the Viewfactor Contineo Cage for Blackmagic Cinema camera and Blackmagic production camera, it's a great cage. You get a great solid centerpiece of your camera rig which nicely surrounds the camera without obstructing any vital parts of the camera. Everything is still accessible except the button on the front, which is hardly used by me anyways. It doesn't budge, it doesn't move, which is a great thing. There are tons of threaded holes where you can put accessories in. You get one 50mm rod system which you can either put on the bottom or on the top, and if you want both then it's just a matter of buying one more of these clamps that I put on top, because you still have the bottom part. So that's great as well. Basically I can't figure out any negative things about this cage besides maybe it being a little expensive, but for me it was really worth it. I can't imagine building a camera rig around anything else besides this cage at the moment. One other maybe downside-ish thing is that it doesn't have any rosettes on the sides, but I think with all the threaded holes you should be able to buy something that uses threaded holes as a base and then turns into a rosette, for example. So I can basically only say good stuff about this cage. I think it's one of the better ones. I've researched cage quite a lot. This one came out on top for me. Versatile, light, very sturdy. Only downside maybe price, but that's all up to your personal budget. I would say definitely get this one if you have a Blackmagic Cinema or production camera. It's great value for your money. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. I hope this video was useful to you, and happy shooting out there. See you next time. Bye.